What's going on today, everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic day. I know I am. And I'm going to be working on the Subaru here again. We're going to go ahead and finally fix that sloppy shifter. I'm sick of it. I'm done with it. I want to get it done, and that way it's back to being a decent shifter again. So, first things first, we're going to go ahead and go under the car, but you might see some clips that came from another time. While I was trying to do the interior ones on the shifter, and it turns out that they're bigger than what the actual shifter will take. So I emailed the company, tried to get some resolution on this. It's been 3 weeks now. They haven't answered me, so forget it. We're just gonna shave it down and do the make it work situation. It's really close. It might just need a bevel, and it might just be a really tight fit, which I've read that a lot of people press fit them in there and it fits just fine. So we're gonna try to do that, but might as well start on the easy ones first, and we're gonna go underneath the car actually, which seems like they would be the harder ones. We'll find out. They're probably both gonna be hard, but we're gonna get to it, go under the car, install these 4 new bushings on our shifter. There it is. There's one bar going that way and one bar going vertical that we need to go ahead and remove and replace the bushings inside of it. So that's the top part of your shifter. Now this bottom part also has bushings that you can replace in it. I've already done that on this car, so we're not going to go ahead and replace those. That's the stabilizer one, the rear stabilizer. We're just going to replace those 4, which looks like it's going to be fun to try to do, but we'll get it done. Ratcheting wrenches are going to be your friend here. Well, I've made it to this point. The very last thing I have to do is get that bolt out, and then the whole piece will come off. Already disconnected. There's the piece I'm after right there. I've already disconnected this side, which goes back to the shifter. And I've actually gone ahead and taken this rear boot off just to give me a little bit more play. See if that would help. But it's not. The piece that's left in here is actually on the transmission. So I can move through the gears, but I can't get it back far enough past the firewall to get that long bolt out of there. So, next course of action is going to be actually loosen the transmission bolts to hopefully pull the transmission down a little bit. We'll see how well that works out. So I've gone ahead, and this is my rear transmission mount, and I've gone ahead and just loosened, actually taken the bolts completely out of both sides, this side and the passenger side. They're sitting right there. And gone ahead and loosen up these 17. So this is a 17 up front, 14 in the rear. Just loosen them to where there's still threads holding it in, so it's still held in with the car, but this rear is completely undone. Now that's giving me enough room to kind of wiggle things around. Now go ahead, you can't quite get that bolt out. That bolt out, because there's just not enough room between here. So take a pry bar, pry with everything loose, pry on the transmission on one of the bolts, and you can actually move the transmission over enough to get that bolt out. Huge help if you have something to push on, but that will be the way that you get that bolt out, because there's no way it's going in or out the other way. Now, with loosening these, we've also been able to drop the transmission enough to get the top one out. So now we don't have any problems getting the bolts in or out of this transmission. After a whole bunch of headache, this piece is finally out. Now here's the new and here is the old. The 2 new, 2 old. So these ones are more rubber. These ones are hard plastic. One thing that I don't really like is they don't really stick into the pin like the OEM ones do. So these are OEM, these are Torquesolution ones. So they go through, they're fine, and I mean they sometimes can stick, but for the most part they don't really stick like the OEM ones do. So I'm not really impressed with that so far, especially when it's gonna go to putting this in. I mean, it just slops apart and falls out of there. Not super impressed. The only one that really sticks on there is this one, and this one's what I assume it should be. I mean, this one's on there. That's a good fit for this one. But this is the only one that's like that. All the rest of them just slide in and out. And I mean, this one I have to pull off. So I don't know what's going on with this. First impressions, before even putting it in the car, not overly impressed with everything in the kit. Shifter inside doesn't fit. Has to be reworked to make it work. That's not good. Underneath, they're super sloppy. So one's on one extreme, the other's on the other extreme. So where was the engineering on this part? Did anybody double check something? I don't know. So to go ahead and combat this sloppy mess that we've got going on here, I'm gonna actually throw a little bit of grease on it. Now that grease is going to do two things. It's gonna lubricate it, and it's also gonna help it stick in there so it stays together when I'm putting this whole piece back together. Because if I try to put it together right now, put it together, and then I go to put it up in the car, this sits in there like this, and I go to, well, I can't have anything in there because I can't hold all four of them at once. So put some grease on it, make sure it sticks, get it up in there. So there it is. We've got a little bit of grease in it, and you can see now all of the parts are in there, and I can finagle it up where I need to. So now we get the joy of going ahead and putting it back into the car. So if you notice, this piece is not centered on each other. And there's a certain way that things go on. Now, one of them is bigger. The bigger one goes in there on the transmission side, and the smaller one goes on the shifter side. So this will be the front of your car, this will be the back of your car, this will be the driver's side, this will be the passenger side. So this is where your transmission will mount to, this longer one, and then the shorter one is where your shifter linkage goes in. So it'll go in just like that into the transmission. Now if you happen to have if it'll focus, you can see there is writing on the shifter. Now that means that's the long one. So the writing right here, stamp stuff, that's where the transmission side will mount to. So let's go ahead and do the fun part of trying to put this back in the car. So this bolt goes down vertical, and it is a 14 millimeter that connects to the shifter linkage to that joint. Well, now that we've got the under the car taken care of, it's time to go inside the car. Cross your fingers, good luck. Hopefully we can get something to work. Kind of doubtful, but still hopeful. Tips for doing the 4 bushings on the bottom of the car. Couple 12s work great. Ratcheting ones preferred. You're gonna need a 14. Now it doesn't have to be a ratcheting one because you're gonna need this end to get to the top bolt. You're also gonna need a short extension. I like the half or quarter-inch drive for it. Worked out okay with a 12mm socket. I tried the stubby ratchet. Didn't work out as well as I wanted it to, but it still worked out. Now I used an impact gun with the 14 and a 17 to get the cross member for the transmission to drop. So tips, drop the rear of the transmission. There's 4 bolts, 4 14 bolts. Just undo them completely. The front ones, they're 17s. I undid the threads about maybe half an inch, go quarter of an inch. Just give yourself a little bit of extra room. The other thing is take a small crowbar with you, or a pry bar, or something that you can pry on. Use the tunnel, the transmission tunnel in the car, to pry the actual transmission to the passenger side so you can get that bolt out. That bolt is kind of bare to get out, the bottom one. Top one's doable once you drop the transmission, but the one going through the side, it is a pain. Alright, we're back inside. Everything's taken apart. If you don't know how to take it apart, there will be a link right here to the last video, sloppy shifter, taking everything apart. So we've got it all apart, ready to go. Now we just need to get to this bolt, these bushings, and I'm probably going to take it out of the socket just to try to press fit these in here. I don't like undoing this reverse lockout as much as I can avoid it, so we'll try to avoid it. If we can't, it's not the end of the world. We'll do it if we have to, but it is definitely more of a pain in the butt to do, to put this on together, because you got to go underneath, you got to hold it, come back up, put it back together. It's just a pain, so we'll try to avoid undoing it. But we'll go ahead, this 12s, 2 12s, undo this, put this new bushing kit in. Well, I've tried. I definitely have tried. That's as far as that thing is going in there. I managed to somehow press them in with a C-clamp, and right at the last little bit it breaks, and now I've just got shattered pieces inside of the shifter bushing, and the pin won't go through anymore. This is the worst piece of junk ever. Do not buy this Torquesolution kit, because it is not even close to working. Here is the aftermath of trying to put this Torquesolutions system in. This Torquesolution is so tight that it won't even fit into the housing. You can see that ring is where the actual housing was pushing the material out. That's one side, and then this is the other side. When I finally managed to get it in, the whole thing shattered inside. So I had this piece with a bunch of pieces over here, and this piece kind of going in like this, and it would not go together. I had a C-clamp on it, and I was giving it everything I had, and it still wouldn't go through. So, bagged it. It's junk. System doesn't work. It might be for a 5-speed WRX, but it is not for this system. I've tried damn near everything. Even this sleeve is loose on the bolt, so I think it doesn't go for this system. I can't even get that off there. What I ended up doing was taking some electrical tape and took a little strip, went around the old, this is the new one, but went around the old one 2 times, making sure to have extra hanging over this end. And what I did was I just folded this end over, took one of the old bushings, put the bushing on here, and managed to fit it into the shifter system. These bushings don't go together, but did that, pushed it on there, and that gave me enough extra material to give me the proper clearances that I need. So now that it's a nice taut shift, and it has a little bit of extra material in there to help clear or take care of those gaps. What I ended up doing was had one system together where it's taped on there, went ahead, put the second system together, making sure that it was overlapped enough on the end to go through. Push that in. Now it was kind of a little bit of a pain, so I put a little bit of a grease on here. Put some grease on here, pushed it in, and then the other side I went ahead, so now it's in the car, it's in the shift boot, and since I overlap this, I can tuck them over. Put a little bit of grease on here, a little bit of grease on the outside, and push this on, and manage to get both of them in there perfectly. And now it has a little bit of spacer, a little bit of tape on there, spaced it out to where it gives enough pressure on these old bushings to take care of what has worn down. So now this whole system in there is perfect, and it's nice taut shifter again. Quick fix, I'm gonna try a different company to do the right fix, but this is just to get me by, because this new Torquesolutions system is junk. It even says it's for 06 to 17 STI. No, it isn't. It is not. I could not get it on my 11 STI to save my life. So, junk. It does say it's for WRX. WRX has the 5-speed. STI has a 6-speed. So I bet that this is for the WRXs, not the STIs. So that's cool. We're gonna try a different manufacturer, see if we can get the right parts. Hopefully. Managed to get the old bushings in with the electric tape scenario. You might be able to tell those are still the blue bushings, the OEM blue. So those are in there, and now there is hardly any play, which is perfect. It's neutral, third. There's still a little bit of play, but it is a lot less than it was before. We'll go ahead and we will put this back together and do some measuring to see how good and or bad it is. So I'm gonna go ahead, put all this stuff back in here, all this junk in here, my tools away, and put this back together. now the shifter feels like it used to when it's new. It snaps back. I've got very little bit of play when I put it in gear, but most importantly, every gear feels solid and notchy. Now that we've made sure that every gear still goes into gear, it's time to go test drive it. Well, that's gonna do it for me today. I'm done with this for now. I guess third time will be the charm. We'll go ahead and try to fix it right the third time. Hopefully this other company will have a better understanding of what actually needs to go on. So we're gonna try that company out. Hopefully they're better. If they're not better, then we're just gonna go buy OEM. Half of me is tempted to just buy the OEM stuff anyways, but we're gonna have the same problem down the line. I want to buy these are more of a rubber, so this is an OEM one, and you can see I can squish it. This is the new one. It is polyurethane, I believe. Maybe it's not poly, maybe it's ABS, but it doesn't have any give to it. So we will see. Hopefully we will be able to get a decent bushing set. A lot harder than I thought it was going to be, definitely. One thing that made it a little bit easier was on the interior, the tips and tricks on the interior. The bottom puck comes out. If he gets a decent pair of needle nose pliers, there is a snap ring inside there. So you can go ahead and get your pliers, get the snap ring pulled out, and you can pull the whole shifter up and out. Now I didn't undo the reverse lockout cable, but I did have the shifter to where I could pull it out and then set it sideways so I could get a clamp on it. Be able to use a bigger clamp. I use vice grip clamp, not your standard little set of vice grips like this, but an actual big C-clamp. And then I also used a C-clamp on it to try to help finalize everything nice and tight. So hopefully you guys have better luck than I did. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna order those other parts. So hopefully we'll have a part 3, I guess, to this saga. I didn't realize that changing the bushings were gonna be this tedious, but it is turning out to be highly tedious. Anyways, if you guys have any comments, if you've tried this Torquesolution bushing kit and you've had luck, leave a comment. Let me know what am I doing wrong? I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Let me know how you guys managed to get it in there. Did you shave a bunch of the bushing off to actually get them to fit in? I'm curious, really curious. Leave that comment down below. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. It helps me out a ton. We're getting really, really close to our 1,000 subscriber mark. Please, please, please subscribe. Don't forget. And if you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. I'm going to get out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to enjoy the heck out of mine. I'm going to be done working on bushings, that's for sure. Might work on something else, but we're going to be done with the bushings for the day. Take it easy, everyone. Peace.